Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about sketch geometries and we're going to create sketch geometries and we're going to start with creating a line. In the part mode in Autodesk Inventor Professional 2024, we're going to create a new sketch and we're going to select XY plane. We're going to pan to the right and we will use the line command in the toolbar on the top left corner. You can see the preview of that command, or you can right click and create line, and notice that it is showing you X and Y coordinates in reference to this origin point. I can move it top, and as you see, the Y is increasing or decreasing, or I can change the X increasing and decreasing. But notice that the cursor, on the cursor, you see the yellow dot. That means that if I start the line from this point, it is not a defined location in the space, which means that I can just drag it and move it. But if I come to the origin point, the color changes to green, which means that it is going to assign a constraint. That means that this point where the line starts will be locked to this origin point of the space. So let's start a line from there, and the line is starting to be created. Now it is asking me a few variables. So now you see that the length is highlighted with dark blue color. If I move my cursor on the screen, it is, right now it's about 7 millimeters, or it is going up to 40 millimeters. It is asking me to assign a length to it. If I don't assign that length, if I right click and select OK and get out of that command, now I can drag it and make it longer or shorter, and I can even change the angle. So now let's go back and create a line again. Start from the middle point, it assigned that constraint, which is a defined location in space, created the line. Now on my keyboard using the numpad, I can assign a length, say 20 millimeters. Now I can hit tab on my keyboard and now I can assign an angle. Now let's not assign the angle yet, so let's just hit enter and get out of that command. Now the length is defined. I can't make it longer, but I can change the angle because I did not I did not assign a specific angle to it. So now let's go back, undo, and create another line. Start from the origin point, assign the length, and hit tab, and then say assign 35 degrees. Now right click OK and get out of that command. Now you see that it is, the color of the line changed from this blue purplish color to a black color, which means that it is fully defined, it's fully constrained. It has a specific location in the space. And you can, just to confirm that, you can look at the bottom right corner. It says fully constrained. It is not asking for you to assign additional dimensions or additional constraints, because now this line has a starting point. This line has a length, which means that it has an endpoint, and also it has an angle in reference to this construction line that it automatically generated. Because as I assigned an angle, it has to be in reference to something. So it created a construction line. We're going to talk about construction lines in the following videos. Construction lines are just reference lines that we use, to make it easy to design objects that we want to design. So we're going to talk about that in following videos. But for now, just know that this is just a reference line. So now let's go back and create another line. This time, again, we're starting from the origin point, but instead of assigning a length, let's see what happens if I use the X and Y axes. So if I go back to Y axis, notice that it latched onto this vertical line and it assigned a vertical constraint. Right next to my cursor, you can see the symbol for the vertical constraint. And it automatically, if I click on this line right now, it is going to assign a 90-degree angle in reference to the horizontal line, but it is going to assign a vertical constraint to that horizontal line. So now if I move to the bottom side, it is going to apply a 0-degree angle because it is going to assign a horizontal constraint. So now, which means that I don't have to assign an angle. The inventor is already recognizing that I want to use this line as a reference so that it is only asking me for one variable, which is the length. Let's say I want to assign 100 millimeters to it. So now I click OK. Now this line is not going to move. If I try to click on it and select, it's not going to move. Because I started from the origin point, I assigned a length, and since it's horizontal, I didn't have to assign an angle. Now it is fully constrained. Notice that I created a line with only a few clicks. So let's say this is a 100 mm line, and we want to create another line, from the end point of the first line. Right click, create line. Now it latched onto the end point of the first line, which means that it is going to apply a constraint here. So now, as I'm creating the line, again, I can create a line and I can assign a length, I can assign a degree in reference to the first line, or I can just let the inventor find the vertical constraint to the horizontal axis that I am using as a reference. Or what I can do is I can just touch this first screen, and then after that, Inventor automatically recognizes that I want to use this first line I created as a reference. Now, if I go back, it'll apply a perpendicular constraint in reference to the first line. So now the second line will be created in reference to the first line. It will always be perpendicular to the first line. So then the only variable that it is asking me to assign is the length. So the first line was 100 millimeters. Now the second line, let's make it for 60 millimeters. So now the second line is created. This first line is 100 millimeters. It is called, the black color, which means that it's fully constrained. The second line is also fully constrained, and this is perpendicular. If I click on that line, you can see that perpendicular constraint is applied. Notice that I can click on the constraint and it highlights what lines use this constraint. So this first and second line use the perpendicular constraint. So now let's continue to create lines, and let's use the endpoint of the second line and create a third line. In this line now, it is asking me, again, what degree, what length I want to apply. I can create a random line and I can apply, assign constraints later, as we mentioned in this in the constrained video. I think it was the sketch constraints 7th video in the tutorial series. But I can come to the middle point of the first line and see that dotted line appears. That means that this point is the middle point of the first line. Inventor is helping you to find these reference points and geometries to save time for you and make it more efficient and make you more productive. And right now, this is going to automatically assign 50 millimeter length and 180 degrees with a horizontal constraint. I might not want to do that. I might want to use the first line as a constraint reference, which means that all I have to do is just touch the first line. I don't have to click anywhere with my mouse. Once I do this, now Inventor understands that I want to use the first line as a reference. So now if I go back to that point, creating the line, now it is applying a parallel constraint. This parallel constraint, and that means this third line is going to be parallel to the first line. If I want to use the second line as the constraint reference, I can go back and touch that line and come back here. Now it is going to apply a perpendicular constraint. See, you don't have to create lines and assign constraints and do like 20, 30 clicks to just create a simple geometry. You can use these geometry references, these shortcuts that Inventor offers you to save time as you design geometries. Instead of assigning a length or an angle, let's just use this beginning point as my reference. See, as I come close to that beginning point, it latched onto this line and it applied a vertical line because it's using this as a reference. Let's say I want to use this point as my reference. I just moved the cursor to that point. I didn't click on anything. I just touched it. And now it is going to apply that constraint. So now click OK. Now I create another line. I didn't have to click OK. I could have continued to create lines. I didn't have to get out of that command. I'm going to click on the endpoint of this third line and come here and create a rectangle. Notice that all of the lines that I created are black, which means that they are fully constrained. All the necessary constraints are applied, all the dimensions are applied. So now this rectangle has a designated location in space. And if I try to drag any of these lines, it's not going to move. So now let's finish the sketch. As we mentioned before, every time we do something, we want to make it practical. So let's find, say, a wooden table on Google. something like this or something like this. We're not gonna go into more details, but we just want to just show you that, even by using simple lines, you can create actual 3D geometries. So let's extrude this, and let's 10 millimeters is going to be too thick. Let's go to we're going to be making a miniature version of it. Obviously, this is not going to be a 100 millimeter to 60 millimeter table. It's for it's kind of like a Lego at this point. It's not a realistic dimensions, but just a representation of it. We're going to make a tabletop that's 5 millimeters, 5 millimeters thick. So now I can use the view cube and click on front. And now I'm looking at the front face of this tabletop. Let's look at the back of it. This is the back face of the tabletop. Let's create another sketch on this face. Let's click on right click menu and then click on sketch, or I could have used this start to sketch function on the left top side. And I'm going to select this face because I'm going to create some table legs. So let's create a line here. I'm just selecting a random spot at this point. Again, we're not, going into much detail. We're going to design these products in with more detail later. So let's make this 8 millimeters, and then 8 millimeters here. See, it already recognized the beginning point of the first line, and I didn't have to enter 8 millimeters. I didn't have to enter 8 millimeters there. So let's do the same thing again. It recognized the top line as my reference. Let's apply 8 millimeters, 8 millimeters, 8 millimeters, 8 millimeters. I didn't have to even enter the other 8 millimeters because it recognized these lines that I created initially. So that's why it just didn't have to enter the dimensions for it. So let's use this line as a reference. Create a line that's 8 millimeters. Again, it recognized that line, applied the perpendicular constraints, done. Now let's use that reference as a reference, and that's also the square that I created on the top side. Let's use both of them as reference. Create this line. Now created that line, recognized that line as reference, applied 90-degree perpendicular constraints, and then created this. Notice that these are still color, the color is purple, which means they're not fully defined because these can be moved around. Probably if I just move this, I can move this up and down, or, I can move this left and right because it is still as 12 dimensions are needed. Yeah, why? Because it is asking me, how far away these squares are from the edge of the table. We're not going to worry about that right now because we haven't talked about dimensions. This is just a quick example to show you that you can create a 3D object just by using lines. So after doing this, let's say finish sketch. Let's extrude and select this one, select this one, select this one, select this one. Now change this extrusion to 40 millimeters. Click OK. Yeah, obviously, this is not an actual table. The dimensions are not realistic, but just to show you just a quick illustration of how to create a table by just using lines. Obviously, we could have done this in seconds instead of spending right now we're coming close to 14 minutes. We could have done this in seconds, which you will be able to in the following videos. But this is just a quick video to explain how to use lines, how to create lines, and how to take advantage of constraints and reference points, middle points, beginning and end points, and how to just create angles and create simple geometries by just using lines.